Hi, my name's Christina Hildebrand. I'm from a Voice for Choice advocacy. I'm a little concerned about the 24 hours of birth. I know you've already voted on it before public comment, but the US has the highest rate of infant mortality within the first day of birth. We're also one of the few countries that has the hepatitis B given within the first 24 hours of birth. And I wonder if the CDC or anyone else has done the research behind that and looked into that, because it does concern me that there is a correlation there. And so I just ask that you look into that before you mandate, or not mandate, but before you make that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment, public comment, or from the committee members? Is there somebody I'm missing?
Thank you for that comment. We continually monitor the safety of hepatitis B vaccine, including when administered shortly after birth. It is a very safe vaccine. Anaphylaxis occurs in about 1 out of a million cases, but it's something, certainly we will continue to monitor. Also, with the issue of it giving so shortly after birth, there have been data to support the safety of that as well, including it does not increase the workup for sepsis in young infants. But thank you.
Christina Hildebrand, I'm with the Voice for Choice advocacy. I was just very interested in what was presented today, and I thank you for allowing me to give you public comment. I have some questions which seem to be left unanswered by the presentation. You say that you're going to give a summary of Tdap safety studies. The vaccine package inserts for both Tdap studies state that that there have been no clinical trials or studies on pregnant women for both of those studies. So I'm curious to get those Tdap safety studies that you mentioned. The studies that were outlined in the presentation have extremely small sample sizes. So I would hope that the studies that you're referring to have larger sample sizes. I also wonder whether there's been review of the number of miscarriages. The studies that I've seen actually took out stillborn deaths, and I wonder if we have any studies on the number of stillborn deaths and miscarriages that happen after vaccination versus those people who are not vaccinated. The other piece that I would ask that you address is that both Tdap vaccines include aluminum. We know aluminum crosses the blood-brain barrier, and whether that has been studied in fetuses, and whether the aluminum from the Tdap vaccine does in fact cross the blood-brain barrier, and what that does to the fetus. And then the other question that I have for you is that there have been studies in baboons that have shown that the Tdap and DTaP vaccine actually show that that you can be an asymptomatic carrier of pertussis, and you can actually give pertussis to someone else. And so I wonder whether that has been addressed, and whether the giving of Tdap and DTaP among infants, specifically Tdap among the parent, whether they can be an asymptomatic carrier to their infant, and whether and then that, as well as whether giving the Tdap actually stops the infant from getting pertussis, whether that first 6 months of life, whether those infants that have had the higher antibodies have actually been stopped from getting pertussis. Also, because we know right now most people and most adults and most teenagers that are getting pertussis are getting it having been fully vaccinated. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone who care to make public comment? Ms. Hildebrand.
Thank you. Christina Hildebrand from a Voice for Choice advocacy. Pull this out 1 second. Sorry. I had 3 comments. One of them is that you're recommending this. I know you're not saying it should be given to all healthy adolescents, but you're recommending it for healthy adolescents, yet the efficacy of it that was shown in the slides showed that it had severe wear-off after 12 months. So if it's not efficacious or that efficacious after 12 months, I wonder why you're recommending it at that point, especially when you look at the number of side effects and the deaths that come from the actual vaccine versus the number of deaths from meningococcal, which if you look at those numbers, the number of deaths from the vaccine are higher than the number of deaths that we've had from meningococcal. The other thing that I wanted to say is that as a public person and as a statistician, it really surprises me the data that you use. So the base sizes of 12, 25, 60, 71 that were up on the screen earlier. I don't know if the work group uses different numbers or sees more information, but to me, those numbers are extremely small for for studies that you're projecting onto the general population, even if it's the general population of adolescents. Similarly, you have the larger study that you showed was Pfizer data, which is one of the companies that makes the vaccine. Of course, they're going to say good stuff about it. We've got ethics issues in the CDC. We know that. So, sitting here and watching this data, it really surprises me that this is the data that you're working off to make vaccine recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I would recommend that you speak to some of our subject matter experts because I think there are a few things that we could clarify for you.
Christina Hildebrand from Voice for Choice Advocacy. I agree with the dosing going down to 2. My concern is, and I know this isn't your choice, but with the HPV-9 being the only one available, the increase in aluminum increases double for every dose. And that's a concern, and I wonder if the safety studies have been done surrounding the aluminum specifically, and looking at things like premature ovarian failure and other adverse reactions that have been reported, and looking at the long term. And I know the 2-dose brings it down, although it's still higher than the 3 doses of the initial 442 variant Gardasil. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, let us refer you to our subject matter experts and also to the vaccine safety personnel at the CDC to discuss that issue.
Thank you. My name is Christina Hildebrand, and I am with Voice for Choice Advocacy. To finish off the evening, I wanted to come back to a few comments that I made earlier and just expand on them. The first one is, looking at all the data that was presented today, it was either really small base sizes or it was by the pharmaceutical companies, which is not independent research by any means. And I really urge the CDC to do independent research. That is not the CDC or the pharmaceutical companies doing research, because both of you get money out of this. And so we need an independent research body doing research. We've got 12 CDC researchers that came out today questioning the ethics of the CDC and the infiltration of money into the CDC and into our government. And we know that the pharmaceutical companies are the largest lobbying force out there. We also have one CDC whistleblower, Dr. William Thompson, who has shown that there's been fraud in the CDC. He's shown that there's been fraud on MMR studies. There's also, efficacy research in the MMR. There's a lawsuit right now questioning the efficacy of the MMR. And I just, I look at this data and I look at what you're doing here at the ACIP and at the CDC, and I just ask that independent research is done, or that you use the independent research that is out there, because using paid for research or your own research just isn't good enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comments? I think we are adjourned for the day. Thank you all for your attention and hard work, and we'll see you in the morning.